using the evolving fishbowl process that I don't know who made up, but we used it at the U.S. Social Forum in Detroit with Grace Lee Boggs and Dr. Harding, where you have an inside fishbowl with a set of ideas and questions built up. But unlike a normal fishbowl where you have a group talking and a group of people watching, as people talk and participate, when they feel like they've made their contribution to the inside of the circle, they step out, making room for other people in the audience to come in. But then what we added to that was we put 4 spaces in the audience and we put mics on the outside. So at the same time that folks could step into the circle to talk, folks could also be outside the circle and talk in. And the kind of energetic framing of the conversation, the kind of ways we made twists and turns and held space comes out of Arnold Mindell's Open Space of Deep Democracy, which is a really deep part of like process work. So we've got those 2 pieces in play. And then the way we brewed up the questions for the forum was to use Marshall Gann's public narrative framework. So story of me, story of me, story of self, story of us, story of now. And we tweaked it with like story of Oregon to kind of get it into some contextual space. So we had 3 people frame and speak that to the whole audience, and then make people turn in threes and talk, and then use their conversation and the kind of guiding question. In Oregon, it was like the future of education in Oregon. And people came up with index cards. And then we preset the initial speakers of the frame of the inside circle, and we used the questions and kind of patterning them to seed the conversation. And then folks just moved in and out through these rotations with folks on the outside. And
what'd you call it again?
well, we called the forum, we just called it the Future of Education in Oregon, a forum. We gave it some tagline.
Could you call it the Dance of Conversation?
Yeah, we called it the Dance of
No, it was kind of like the Dance of Conversation.
We're now calling it the dance. I mean, the thing that makes it interesting is we felt like it gives... One of the Arnold Mindell things I really love is that democracy without awareness is tyranny. And what it does is it creates in the audience an awareness of the conversation at multiple levels. And it doesn't end up with a panel of experts, but it also doesn't get into the kind of simplistic, like, just everyone will get it, you know, like it allows the conversation to kind of move and also get at these 2 levels of like inside and outside.
What you said, it had a lot of chance for reflection. There was like a lot of meta going on too, so you could like listen to what was going on and then almost have a step back because somebody else would come in, and so you'd have a chance to think about it from a different perspective.
Right.
And you could see it from yourself, but then you saw it from, I liked it because I was watching it from a video, I was videotaping it,
right.
I was watching the room and seeing how people were reacting. And it was interesting the most is because we knew some of the speakers there, and we knew how they usually take charge in those kind of conversations, and to watch them kind of step back and be very gentle and humble, I thought was really, I mean, even people who I was like a little bit scared to have in the room there because I felt like they would take it over, they did it. And because of the way I thought the room was set up, and I mean, it could have just been that time, that space.
There are a couple things too that I thought about. One, we pay attention to naming the value of having elders in the conversation, and I think that did something.
Yeah.
I mean, the attention to that is something interesting, which is part of the Mindell kind of design. Another thing was, like you're saying, you could watch. We asked people to not pre-plan what they were going to say, and then like stilt the energy of the group to really try to grow their attentive awareness is the language we used. Which I think is a Reggio Emilia construct. And you could see people like get the mic, and then one guy, remember the one guy that's like I've been standing in line for 10 minutes, and what I was gonna say has already moved in the conversation, so now I'll say something else. So he like said out loud his process, and it was, I think, really delightful to see the ways.
It was also, I think, when the way you framed it at the beginning, having people start with the personal, totally got rid of agendas in a way, because like when they're talking about themselves, about this is my story, this is where I come from, no longer could you prejudge them and like, oh, you're a Latino young person, this is my preconceived notion of what that is, you know, or you're an African American elder, you know. And so it allowed it, in that way, it became a more intimate conversation in a place that often cannot be intimate in these kind of public forums. And